somebody took a picture of me and made a pin, and it said like I was there or something like that. It was really ultimate dork.
Hello and welcome to Basic AF. I'm your co-host, Tom Anderson, joined by, as always, Jeff Battersby. Hello, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Tom. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm all right. I'm sweaty. I just finished playing a game of soccer. Fortunately, nobody here can smell me, which is a plus.
Good. Did you win?
We did not, but I got a goal today, so I'm pleased
Nice.
with that. That's the first goal I've had in a while, so
All right.
good. We did not. We played, to give you an idea, the team we played, not that anybody cares, but the team we played called Germania from Poughkeepsie, New York. They are a very good team, including they have a guy on the team today who scored two goals on us, who in Major League Soccer was a 3-time most goals guy. So
Great.
We're all old farts, but he's still got some pretty good power. One goal was basically from probably from 35 yards out, and he bended around like some guy, and it went into the goal.
Nice.
So it looked great. You can laud that. So,
From his perspective, yeah.
well,
All right. And today we are very honored to have a guest with us, Chris Freitag. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad you could join us. Chris and I connected on Threads probably
That's right.
last fall, give or
Yeah.
take, something like that. And believe it was, we were lamenting Denver Broncos football, if I recall. It's kind of how we got started.
Yeah.
So misery loves company and everything. And
That's
so
right.
that's how we got started. But we've kind of continued to have some conversations here and there. And we've enjoyed those, and a lot around Apple technology and photography. And so I thought it would be great to have Chris come on. Chris has a YouTube channel, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. That is focused on his photography passion. And so we want to dig into that too.
yeah, and I will say a great YouTube channel. Tom turned me onto it just probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we will talk in more detail about it and how you get started. But phenomenal channel. Really appreciate the personal quality of it. It's really, as Tom said, about your love of photography and your kit and what you're doing and kind of how you do it, and great stuff. Really appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
And Chris, do you want to give us a brief intro of you and your background and how you got
Sure.
into photography, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. I've been doing photography my whole life, essentially. I got into it when I was 15 in high school. But it never seemed like something I could chase as a career. So I, went to university. I was in a business school and I somehow fell backwards into graphic design. And I've been doing design work ever since. I moved into web design and then information architecture and user experience design. And I've been doing that ever since as a professional career. But with the advent of YouTube and social media, all of a sudden, the reality around making photography a real, income earning profession part 2 seemed more realistic to me. So I started to poke that bear.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, that is. And I think that is kind of in line with, there's a lot of that today where people have these passions and through, in particular, YouTube, are able to really turn those into something significant. And I think with the quality of yours, and we'll get into it some more as we go, but I think you're heading definitely in that direction. I know you've had some very solid growth on the channel, which is great. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's been a great journey. And I saw that I only started my channel about 2 or 3 months before you started this show. So, I mean, you're right. I see a lot of, it's just in general, I think we're all starting to see that there's other ways.
Yeah. And it's fun. I mean, there's the day job and then there's the hobbies that can be monetized at some point.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Or
doesn't have
in
to
our
be a
case,
lot.
not monetized.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're monetizing other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I just have to remember that it took 20 years to build where I am today. So, like I have to temper my expectations.
All right. Well, we're going to do a little bit of Apple talk here with some news stuff that's going on, and then we'll just kind of roll with it and see where we go. But big news this week was Apple sent invites to some in the media. They've got an event coming up on May 7th that they have kind of dubbed with the tagline of "Let Loose," and by all of the artwork that's been accompanying those things. Looks like there's an Apple Pencil in there. So this is the long-awaited iPad Pro and iPad Air update. It seems it's been forever since they've updated. So that is on May 7th.
And you guys all got your plane tickets, right? Apple sent you tickets.
Yeah. First class.
I get private jet. So.
Well, I get YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to be
Front row.
sitting on my couch. Yeah, that's exactly where it is, where I usually sit.
Yeah, and it's weird they send invites because this is just an online event. Like, there's nothing in person. So, it's
They've
for the
been
hype
doing
machine.
that though. Yeah, they've been
I think the only thing they really have in person is WWDC. Right. Although lately they've had people come out for the iPhone. They had people there so they could do the hands-on stuff. And I think, anyway. So yeah, that'll be on apple.com, YouTube, the Apple YouTube channel, and on the Apple TV app. Now, Chris, I know you had an iPad before. And I think you sold it, yeah?
I've had them all. I've had every single one of them. In fact, on the first day one, I was in line at the Apple store before they did the online orders, and somebody took a picture of me and made a pin, and it said like I was there or something like that. It was really ultimate dork. I still have it up on the.
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah. The iPad has been I see the value in it so much. I can see it. I know that that's the future of computing. And I don't know, I got to a frustration point that finally boiled over with when I got the M3 MacBook, the M3 Max. Like, I just realized that when I needed to get stuff done, I reached for my computer. Mm-hmm. And that was the frustration point.
Yeah, it's funny. We've talked about that a lot here, and we even had an episode early on where we talked about actual work that you could get done with an iPad. And I predominantly do writing, and I still have never found anything quite as good as working on a Mac. Right. Although I am now editing drafts on the iPad. When I say editing drafts, what I normally would have printed out paper and, done line edits and looked at, how sentences were going together and rearranging stuff in the past, I would have printed out 20 pages and sat with those pages and used a pencil to knock it out. I'm using an Apple Pencil now for the most part. Early drafts, not so much, because early drafts require more brain power than the iPad allows me. I do find that for me, iPad is, watching not American football on as I'm cooking dinner or doing stuff like that. It is really, for the most part, for basically having a television where I don't normally have televisions.
Right.
Yeah. So did you do a lot of that, Chris?
Yeah, I was just about to say that is where I miss it. It has a utility that's obvious. The utility of consuming is so very clear with that. But there was one other thing that I actually do miss quite a bit, and that's Lightroom on the iPad with my pencil. Even though all I was doing was adjusting the same levers that I would on my desktop, the feeling of editing your photo on the iPad was just a little more intimate. You felt like you were touching your photo. And that when I started in photography, when you would work in the darkroom and you would dodge and burn, you were doing that to the film. You were doing that to the print that you were working on in chemicals. So that's sort of what the Lightroom on iPad gave me. So I missed that for sure. And I'm awaiting this event with bated breath. Like I want back in. I'm just not going to go pro this time.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's that rumor too that, and this, I don't know what size you like for your iPad, but it looks like the iPad Air may get the 12.9 inch model too.
Right.
Which should knock that down a little bit from where the Pro is. So the kind of like the big thing, the Pro models are looking at OLED displays, so that's probably going to be more money. And so they'll go up. But I saw Mark Gurman put in his newsletter or on Bloomberg today, this just came out today, quote, "I'm hearing there's a strong possibility that the chip in the new iPad Pro will be the M4, not the M3. Better yet, I believe Apple will position the tablet as its first truly, get ready, Jeff, AI-powered device, and that it will tout each new product from then on as an AI device. This, of course, is all in response to the AI craze that has swept the tech industry over the last couple of years." Yep. And we'll put a link to that in the show notes. So that would be interesting if they just kind of leapfrog the 3 and go to the 4. And I wonder, because they've always been kind of stingy on the RAM on their mobile devices. And I wonder, like, will this AI push change that? Like, will they have to beef those up? And maybe that's why they're going to the 4. Maybe it's more meaty than the 3 would have allowed. So we'll have to wait and see.
But that's a good point. Like one of the benefits of the latest iOS releases was offline maps. And I use offline maps all the time, but Siri doesn't work with offline. Like I can't navigate when I have no cell connection, which happens a lot when I'm in the Rockies. So I have these offline maps, but I can't navigate anywhere because Siri's not offline. Like it's not on your device. So an on the device would be huge for well, I don't know how big it would be for the iPad, but for the phone, it would be huge.
Are you talking about like hiking, or are you talking about when you're in the weeds driving around in the Rockies?
When I'm driving around, yeah, there's when you get out of the areas that are around the Front Range, you lose cell connection pretty fast. The ski areas all have them, but there's a lot of Rocky Mountains.
It's I just sent a complaint to All Trails, and this is not obviously Apple Maps, but their watch app. I was using it to try to navigate when I was hiking a couple times. I've been keeping the phone in my pocket, but the watch was not doing a very good job of that. You could download the app, but you'd end up going someplace where it had you, basically a half mile through 3/4 of a mile in the wrong direction, even though you had long ago made a left turn where the trail looked like it was going right. So there's still stuff to be done with that for sure. But no cell, definitely a problem if you're navigating in the weeds.
Yes. Sorry, that was a little off topic.
No. There's no such thing as topic.
But yeah, I mean, leapfrogging the M3 for the iPad, I don't know. If I had a topic on that, it would literally be, why is the iPad line so convoluted? Like, why did they get away from themselves for the iPad? Every other line is so tight. They know who they are in all the other lines, but the iPad is so messed up. And I think it's evidence that they don't know what it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of ebbs and flows and floats, and there's this device and that device. And, I thought it was strange that the iPad 10th generation was the first one that got the landscape-oriented front camera. I was like, okay.
And then some weird pencil, because they had to do that engineering in it. So there's that pencil, and then the USB-C pencil. And
there's a new pencil coming.
Right.
Week after next. And supposedly a new Magic Keyboard, too. I forget who I was talking to about that, but I'm a little interested in that just to see what they do with it. I have an M2 iPad Pro, the 12.9.
Yeah, that's what I had.
I kind of doubt that they'll make it compatible. It's just
it's not in their MO.
No, except for watch bands. That seems to be the only thing they've really done an excellent job with compatibility.
What watch bands? I haven't seen a new watch band for ages.
They haven't done any new ones really. Well, they've done a couple
Ultras.
color variations of the existing types, but I'm not dropping $100 on any more bands.
Right.
So I'll buy the cheapos. So yeah, we'll see where that ends up. So that's on May 7th, and we'll do a follow-up, of course, on that.
Right after.
So, we talked a little bit there, Chris, about some of the devices that you have, and the iPad and everything. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your tech stack looks like?
Yeah, I have a work computer that's a M1 Max, and I bought myself a space black 14-inch M3 Max. And I could be perfectly honest, there's no difference working between these two devices. I've seen that as a negative on YouTube, where some people are saying this isn't a big enough improvement. But I think the M line really introduced a whole new way of buying computers, where you get the one that's right at the time that you get it. Like, I don't think that this is where it used to be like, wow, the new G4 is really that significantly better than the old G4, and it felt compelling to upgrade. I don't think that you need to upgrade like that with these computers. So that's sort of where I've landed, is this M3 Max should be my computer for a while, because the M1 Max is not, I don't see a difference. I can't notice anything on any benchmarks I do or any real world tasks I do.
Yeah, I think that's been the case for a while now too, because most of us are not using, we're not using the computational power that's there. I think people that are doing programming maybe see a big difference when they're, compiling. I would wonder, do you do a lot of rendering in your work or?
I would say the heaviest load is DaVinci Resolve. I do all of my work in DaVinci Resolve. And so where you get to the speed ramp, where things really help, is when you render out your video and upload it. And the M3 Max does render slightly faster. If I were an editor doing this all day, then that slightly faster would add up over time, like any task. But most of my work is in Figma, which I work in on an app that's called Electron, which is just a wrapper around Chrome, I think. So it's just a web app, and that, like you said, I don't even scratch the surface other than DaVinci Resolve. That's the heavy hitter that I have.
I mean, with writing for me,
the cursor's only going to blink so quickly.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I can't type that fast. So, it doesn't run across the screen that quickly. So yeah, it's, I don't know if you've listened much to the show, but I upgraded to an M3 after somebody stole all my gear.
Yeah.
You're about due for another one, right?
Yeah, right. Well, they closed that In-N-Out burger, so I can no longer go to In-N-Out in Oakland and get new gear. But I had an M1 and upgraded as a result of that to an M3. And for me, again, I love the computer. I think it's a tight computer. It works really well. It does everything I need it to do in a very good fashion. But yeah, for the stuff that I'm doing, especially since I'm probably not doing a lot of AI, although I am sticking my nose into it, so I know something. I don't see, I don't see the big jump. It doesn't do anything for me either. So
right. Yeah. As far as like the rest of the stuff, I have an Apple Watch Ultra that I did end up breaking down and getting. This is the first generation one. Right. We're not on camera.
That's all right.
I have an Apple Watch Ultra. And the reason I got it was specifically because I love street photography. I love doing that kind of photography, but I wanted to get better at landscapes, and I live right here, and I've been a, hiker and everything my whole life, but I wanted to get better at photography in the mountains. So one of the things the Ultra does that I really like is tracks my steps as far as getting back. Like, it's leaving breadcrumbs for me. Mm-hmm. I have really started adventuring because of it. Like, I've gone places with it that I didn't think I'd go. I wouldn't have gone prior because I would have been too afraid of not being able to get back. And it has got me back. So it does work. It has that SOS feature, which is now in the iPhone as well. But I have the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And that's most of my stuff. I mean, I have a whole other problem when it comes to YouTube and gear and tech stack. I won't list all of that.
You can never have too much.
Well, apparently you can, because he sold his iPad. So yeah, I guess you can. You can't.
Well,
A little too much.
that was me predicting what was coming.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I got rid of it while it still had value.
I'll be interested to see if you jump back in.
I will.
Yeah,
I miss the feeling of the iPad. The only question mark in my mind is, will a mini be too small for me? Because that's kind of what I'm eyeing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they'll update that next.
That's what I hope.
Week after. Yeah, because that thing it's a Mini 6. I think it's still on, and I had one of those, and I was really excited when I got it because I thought, man, that's a nice little form factor. I can carry it around easily. It supported the pencil, but the display on it just wasn't very good in my opinion. I know some people didn't care, like it was fine, and so it really just depends on what you're looking for. But it had like that jelly scroll and the UI elements. It didn't seem like Apple cared a whole lot about it because there was overlap on some of the widgets and it wasn't scaled really well. So I was kind of, well, if they don't care, why should I care? So I got rid of it.
Right.
But I would like to see it get a nice update because I'm not opposed to maybe going back to it, but because I do like the size.
Cool. So what else? What else is in your stack?
Well, I mean, my latest obsession is this thing called a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. It is this little handheld recorder that's on a little tiny gimbal. It makes the act of walking around and vlogging and doing things for your channel like a million times easier. I posted a video of me using it and just gushing about it because so much of video has been this horrible trial and error where you record a bunch of things and then you find out you did it all wrong, where this little device just does it like pretty much right out of the box. You get it right almost 100% of the time. So It's really changed things for me as far as using it. I'll just stand it up somewhere and record myself doing something. Even if I never use that footage, it's like no loss to me. So it didn't require a bunch of effort on my part. Okay.
And do you hook one of your normal cameras to that, or is it a camera all by itself?
It's a camera all by itself.
Wow.
In the YouTube world, it's hit that status of like the X100, where nobody can find it anymore because everybody's gushing about it. So yeah, but that's the other nice thing is I think if I were walking in front of you and I had it on, if I wasn't talking to it or anything, I don't think you'd know that I had a camera in my hand.
Wow.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then do you do primarily video for that?
Yeah.
Or is the audio capture
it's got
quality too?
It's got a little wireless mic, and I usually clip it underneath my shirt so you can't even see it on. And you can just at any moment you literally flip your thumb and the screen turns on and you can start recording. It's super fast. It immediately locks onto your face.
Wow.
So you don't have to do any of that. And it's pretty nice. It's one of the best things I got for my channel by a long shot.
Nice. And, you mentioned a good point there. And I deal with this because before we started recording, I was telling you that I'm set up in the closet because it's just the quietest spot in the house. And oftentimes I'll have ideas and things like, I should do a quick little thing about, whatever it is. And, but that friction of having to go set up, because when I set up, I've got to take stuff out of the closet because it's used as a closet. And so I've got to take all that out and then to set up. And then I'm like, forget it. It's not worth it. so that's interesting. I might have to look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And what do those go for? How much are those?
I think if you just get it alone, it's $550. But if you get the creator combo, it's $630. And the part about that's the worst is you kind of need the creator combo. You need that wireless mic. You need the extra battery. So I don't even know why. I mean, I guess you could buy a second one, right? Like there's some YouTubers that are like, you should have a backup. But yeah, it's a pretty cool device. I would say that most people could start a YouTube channel with their phone, a light, and a microphone. And this is an easier version of that.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
Awesome. And on your desktop, what are you using? Like, what are you for editing, film editing? What kind of stuff are you doing?
So I use my Macs connected to a studio display. That's why I didn't mind getting a personal 14-inch laptop, because I'd rather have the portability. I use my studio display for everything else. And then I have a Thunderbolt Pro dock that has a CF Express card and SD card reader on the front. So that's pretty important for my cameras. And then on the back, I have a Ethernet, so I can plug directly into my, I have a Ting internet, which is 1 gigabit. And it's been great to not have to worry about Wi-Fi connection issues. Yeah, and then I use DaVinci Resolve, Lightroom. For work, I use Figma. And those are my main apps that I use day in, day out.
And at home for your photography, using any kind of specialized storage? Are you doing?
Yeah, I have a Synology NAS.
Yeah, the best. Those things are the best, man.
They're the best, but I did the 2-bay because I thought, no way I'm going to need 12 terabytes of storage. So that wasn't even 8 months ago. And I'm already like, well, dang it.
Time to upgrade.
I did not save myself any money here. So I'm going to have to go at least 4 bays. But yeah. So I have two 12 terabyte, but it's just 12 terabytes because they're on a RAID.
Got it.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I've got actually behind me in a little closet, basically, I've got two Synology NASs, both 5 bays. One is for media, and then the other one is for everything else. And,
right.
They're great. I reviewed those for Macworld a couple of years ago, and I was sold the moment I fired it up. Probably one of the best NASs. And clients that I have, I've put those in a lot of my clients' places. Really, really good boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I use their website to tell me which UPS backup to get. So I got an APC, giant thing with LED on the front. Essentially, my computer and backup system can work when my power goes out for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then as far as cameras.
Yeah, I like Fujifilm's system. I did a YouTube video about why I ultimately, through time, landed back on Fujifilm. And it's my camera of choice right now. So I'm using a Fujifilm X-H2, which came out, I want to say it's been a year now. Maybe a little more than a year. And it's a 40 megapixel sensor. It's got a faster processor than the previous ones. So it's really good for both, photography and video. And that's really why I wanted it, was because of that video. It's got that flip screen that flips out so you can see yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I have an old fashioned looking X Pro 3. I mean, it's a professional grade camera. People bought it for their, photography profession. So it's not a toy by any means, but it is definitely the more fun form factor. It's got all the dials and everything that's really photography first. And so I use that strictly for photography, and I just use manual lenses on it. And it's a real throwback to the old, ways of doing photography.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, good kit. What made you, I'm curious, and like I said, I've started looking at Fuji cameras since I've been paying attention to your channel. I shot Nikon for a long time. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, I because it's always in my pocket, that's the old adage, what's the best camera to get? It's the one that's with you. I do a ton of iPhone photography.
Yeah.
Sometimes probably to my detriment, because I'm not, no lenses to throw on or anything like that. But what was it about Fuji that kind of moved you in that direction?
Yeah. My original digital camera, the OG that I got as a gift for Christmas in 2001 was a Fujifilm. At that time, I had no brand loyalty at all. But I did like some of the photography I got from it. In fact, some of it was so good that I thought, maybe I'm better at this than I thought I was. And then I kind of went out into the world. I started trying out all kinds of different cameras, but then eventually, through time and everything else, something brought me back to Fuji. And in 2011, it was a Fujifilm X10. And that was actually when they introduced their line of X. So that was the X100, the X10, and the X Pro. That was actually the 3 cameras that they introduced. The X10 was this fun little camera. So cool. But, you know, for a family, a person who needed his camera for things that weren't just for, you know, photography fun, it was a little slow. The autofocus was pretty bad. It was hard to turn on. So I left again. And then I came back to the X100, which was the X100V. And actually, when I came back to that, this is really interesting. I didn't know anything about Fujifilm, YouTube, TikTok, any of that. I didn't know any of those things were happening in the world. And I just went to the camera store and I got one. And I found out later how lucky I was to get that camera. And then ever since then, what has happened was I got a camera that brought me back to photography. It made me feel like doing photography again. And my relationship with it became such that I didn't want to use anything else. I just wanted to use that X100V. And I started looking at YouTube videos about how other people were using it. And that's when I discovered that there was this world of YouTube that I had not considered before. Like I knew about the tech reviews. I knew that you could go to YouTube and get a how-to, but I didn't realize that you could go to YouTube for entertainment, like turn it on as a channel like you would your television or a streaming app. You know, I just never made that connection before. So it was in that Fujifilm, YouTube, like all of this stuff just kind of coalesced into this. Oh, you can create a channel. You can actually do these things. So, yeah.
That's what led you to actually set up your own channel.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Very cool. And so as far as those cameras, sorry, Tom, as far as those cameras are concerned, bayonets are the same across them. So lenses are interchangeable.
Yep. Okay. Yep. It's an X mount, you know, like any other camera system has a mount. So I can use X mount lenses or I can get adapters and I can get like, M mount lenses if I wanted to use a Leica, lens on my camera. Yep.
Yeah, which you've been able to do for a long time. I started on Konicas a million years ago when I was in high school.
Right.
And you know, a lot of the lenses I wanted, you'd had to get special mount it to the Konica. But,
right.
All right, cool. Tom, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so the YouTube channel, so you've started that. How many videos have you done? I know you've really jumped into it pretty heavily in the last year or so. So how many videos are you up to at this point? I
think it's 60 or maybe more than 60. So it's about 2 to 3 videos a month. It's really around when I have the time to do it.
And how many followers? How many people, subscribers do you have?
I just surpassed 1,000, which is a big milestone on YouTube because you need 4,000 watch hours, meaning people have watched your stuff for 4,000 hours, and you need 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize. I actually surpassed 4,000 watch hours in October of 2023. So I was just waiting for more subscribers.
I was one of those, so you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. That's great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. And so when you do a video, so one of the things that I've often wondered and has been a mental barrier somewhat for me to get into it is, as you had mentioned, it's something you do, you know, in your spare time. So how long, on average, I know it'll vary depending on the video, but like the process from start to finish, say for an average video, as best you can guess, like how long do you think that takes?
Well, it has been a learning curve too. So that's, you know, something that you have to calculate. I would say I'm getting to the point now where recording the video is the shortest amount of time. So maybe 20 to 30 minutes of recording where I'll just record. I'll just start talking. And if I want to restart, I'll just start over again. And just one long, big video file. And then when I get that file, I bring it into DaVinci Resolve. And that's where like the heavy lifting comes in. Doing the edit, making sure your story is linear so people can understand what you're talking about. And then, you know, adding secret sauce stuff like, you know, clips of other things, B-roll, all of that is what really takes the time. I probably would say I'm maybe anywhere from 4 to 8 hours on a typical video of editing. So it's a full day worth of work for editing. But that has gotten better. It used to be much, much longer than that. It was a lot harder to do at the beginning.
And that's not an insignificant amount of time, but it's not
Right.
not terrible, because like the newsletter that I do, like I sent one out yesterday, and between Friday night and yesterday was probably 4 or 5 hours for that. By the time I, get all of my links and double check it and triple check it and send the tests messages and make sure that the links work and everything. So, I mean, it's just a different type, but time-wise about the same. So, but like you said, though, it doesn't start there. There's that, curve where initially it's significantly more because you're still learning. Like the same thing with the podcast. Like when I was editing the first time, it's like, man, this is taking forever.
Yeah.
But you get used to it with practice, right? And as with everything.
Yeah. That's actually what this video that I'm working on is about that process. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Is it to be rich? Because the answer is no. If you saw this monetization, you would laugh. I mean, it's like 50 cents a day. It's really low. This isn't replacing any salaries anytime soon. So it has nothing to do with monetary gain. And it's like, well, I could just go on social media and talk about photography. So why am I doing this? And really, it's about learning all this stuff. I feel invigorated. I'm like excited to be learning new software and learning new tech. And, like all of these things are fun. I'm having fun again. And so that's probably the big takeaway is this has been a fun process.
Yep. And it's like they say, everything is training for something. And,
right.
And I believe that. And Jeff and I have talked about that too with this podcast that, we're nowhere close to trying to monetize anything, but our favorite shows are when we have guests.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're sick of looking at each other. No, and I think there's monetization is such a hard thing because everybody, got the side gig. I got to make the money. I'm going to be a millionaire. I think it misses the point of the joy of doing things. I played soccer today.
Yeah.
Am I good? No. Did I score a goal? Yes. Was that great? You betcha. I do a ton of theater. I'm going to leave, this recording today, and at 2:00 we start tech for Ragtime, which is a huge show. I am not in the show. I'm running the back end part of it, but there's something absolutely glorious about just being in something that you love.
Yeah.
And this is even the podcast for us. It's, as much as Tom and I don't like to look at each other, we enjoy each other's company, and we have a good time. And I think that's there's so much value in that. Mm-hmm. You get, a lot of people kind of go, why are you doing it? Well, it's just fun.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm having a good conversation and I think out of that joy comes some really good stuff.
It's really interesting that you touched on that. I was very into theater when I was in high school. I worked, helped design sets and create sets. I worked the soundboard. I worked the lights. We had a pretty sophisticated system in the new high school that we moved into. And I was part of the, I guess I was a band nerd. I was really in line with the people in the art department. Like I had this in with art. I had photography, theater, band, all this stuff. And I let all of that go, right? Because I had a career and life and family. And I think a lot of what you're seeing now is some, Gen Xers who thought they love that stuff. Like I see them coming back to it. I think that's what this is. I think that's the essence of what this is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think somewhere along the way, and I don't know if, it's what combination of events occurred to it, but I think there was some thought there that everything had to be a side hustle and it couldn't just be a hobby.
Right.
We used to have hobbies, right? It's like used to go fishing, and now people are trying to monetize their fishing expeditions. And, and there's nothing wrong with making some money on a side hustle if that's what you want to do. I'm certainly not condemning that. I'm trying to do that myself for some things. But I think it's a healthier mindset. I think if you look at it as a hobby first, if I make a few bucks, that's great. And if it blows up, that's fine too. If that's what, really what you want, where you want it to go, and that leads you to a path of more happiness.
Yeah. I agree.
Very zen, Tom.
Hey,
it is very zen.
It is. That's all I got.
That's same. That's why we're standing here, the three of us, and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, Chris, as we wind up here, where should people go to connect with you? Obviously, there's the YouTube channel, and we'll put links to the show notes in for all these too. But like, where would you like for people to go to find you?
Well, the YouTube channel is probably the best place. I also have chrisfreitag.com, which is just my first and last name.com. And that is where I have my photography. I don't have anything for sale yet, but it is a plan to sell some of my photo prints on there. And there's also all my links to all my social networks is on chrisfreitag.com.
Very cool. Yeah, and I will, again, highly recommend your YouTube channel. I have watched several of them, several of your videos. Very fun, very low key, like, low barrier to entry. A lot of times you get people that are really into technical stuff and have no ability to kind of make it personal, but you do a very good job of making it just that. It's your excitement and your enjoyment of your craft really comes through. And I appreciate that. I really do.
That's amazing feedback. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And no lies. All righty.
He saves those for me.
Ditto.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Some time to join us today.
I'm really glad I did this. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Always welcome.
And as always, you can get to us at basicafshow.com, feedback at basicafshow.com if you want to, send us a little note. We're always happy to have those. You can get us on, various social media sites as the same thing, basicafshow.com. Show music, Psychokinetics. Highly recommend you check Psychokinetics out, and Celsius 7, who has a new album out that you can check into. And then Randall Martin Design, randallmartindesign.com for our main show logo, which is still the best logo on any of the podcast platforms as far as we're concerned.
That's right. Okay, so that is going to wrap it up. Once again, Chris, thank you so much. Jeff, thank you. And we thank you for being here with us. As always, we do greatly appreciate you spending some time with us. And until next time, do have a great day and a great evening.
See ya.